Yes, I'm afraid it's true, and I'm really sorry. After 13 years of making Wheeler Dealers, I'm now going to be leaving the show.
For years, Wheeler Dealers was more than just a television show. It was a celebration of cars, craftsmanship, and the thrill of transformation. Week after week, audiences tuned in to see Mike Brewer track down neglected vehicles and Ed China breathe new life into them with his mechanical expertise. The partnership between the charismatic dealer and the brilliant mechanic became a formula that car lovers couldn't resist. Their chemistry felt authentic, their banter was engaging, and their work was inspiring. Fans felt they weren't just watching a program, they were joining a journey. But in 2017, that journey came to an unexpected halt when Ed China announced he was leaving the show. The news sent shockwaves through the automotive world. Viewers had grown to trust Ed's calm explanations and thorough repairs, and many couldn't imagine Wheeler Dealers without him. Almost immediately, speculation began to swirl. Why would he walk away from a show that had made him a household name? Was it simply a matter of creative differences, or was there something more troubling happening behind the scenes? As rumors spread, so did division among the fan base. Some pointed fingers at producers, claiming budget cuts and format changes forced Ed's hand. Others suggested tension between him and Mike Brewer, despite both men denying a personal feud. The uncertainty left fans desperate for answers, eager to uncover the real story behind Ed's shocking departure. So what truly happened between Ed China and Wheeler Dealers? The truth is layered, emotional, and more revealing than many fans ever expected. When Ed China finally broke his silence about leaving Wheeler Dealers, the explanation he gave revealed just how much pressure had been building behind the scenes. For years, the show had been celebrated for its attention to detail. Ed would spend hours in the workshop, carefully explaining every step of a repair, from dismantling engines to solving complex mechanical problems. This commitment to quality was exactly what made viewers trust him. Fans felt they weren't being given shortcuts. They were being taught real mechanics by someone who genuinely cared about the craft. But according to Ed, things began to change as the series moved forward, especially when production was taken over by Velocity, an American network. Suddenly, the focus was shifting away from the educational step-by-step approach that had defined the show. Instead, producers wanted shorter segments, faster edits, and more emphasis on entertainment rather than detail. In Ed's view, this was a betrayal of what Wheeler Dealers had always stood for. He believed the audience deserved authenticity, not quick cuts designed to make repairs look effortless. Ed explained that the new direction would have required him to compromise on the way he worked, glossing over the complexity of restorations to fit tighter budgets and shorter run times. For a man whose reputation rested on being thorough and honest, this was unacceptable. He wasn't willing to mislead viewers or reduce the show to what he called disposable television. In his announcement, he admitted that the changes being demanded simply didn't align with his values or his vision for the show. The fallout was immediate. Fans flooded social media with messages of disappointment, anger, and confusion. Many rallied behind Ed, praising him for standing his ground and refusing to compromise his integrity. Others directed their frustration at Mike Brewer, unfairly accusing him of being part of the problem. Brewer himself quickly defended both the show and his friendship with Ed, insisting that he had no part in the creative changes that led to the split. Despite his efforts, the backlash against him became so intense that he and his family even received online abuse, something that deeply upset both men. For longtime viewers, the situation felt like the unraveling of something special. Wheeler Dealers had never been just about cars. It was about trust. Fans believed in what they were watching because Ed explained things so clearly and never cut corners. To hear that production was trying to sacrifice that trust for speed and cost saving was disheartening. Many began to wonder whether the show could survive without him, or if the magic had been lost for good. Ed's decision to walk away was not made lightly. He had spent more than a decade building the program into one of the most respected car shows in the world. But to him, remaining under new conditions would have meant betraying the very audience that had supported him from the beginning. It was a painful choice, but in his mind, it was the only honest one. This was the beginning of the end for the original era of Wheeler Dealers. And while the show continued with a new mechanic, Ant Anstead, Many fans never stopped asking the same question. Was it really Wheeler Dealers without Ed China? The announcement of Ed China's departure left fans reeling, but it also sparked a wave of speculation about what had really gone on behind closed doors. While Ed's official explanation centered on creative differences and production changes, the public wasn't satisfied with such a simple answer. Almost overnight, forums, blogs, and social media threads filled with rumors of personal conflict, financial disputes, and betrayals that threatened to overshadow the truth. One of the most persistent rumors was that Ed and Mike Brewer had fallen out. The two men had worked side by side for more than a decade, and their on-screen friendship seemed unshakable. But as whispers grew louder, many viewers became convinced that there had been arguments between them. Some fans even accused Brewer of pushing Ed out to protect his own position on the show. The hostility toward Brewer became so intense that he later admitted both he and his family had received threats. It was an unfair and painful turn of events for a man who, by his own account, had nothing to do with Ed's decision to leave. Ed himself tried to put these rumors to rest. In interviews and statements, he made it clear that his issue was not with Mike, but with the network and the production company. He repeatedly emphasized that he and Brewer remained on good terms and that their friendship had survived the split. Still, once the idea of a feud had taken hold in the public imagination, it proved difficult to erase. Even today, there are fans who believe tension between the two was the real reason for the breakup. Another factor fueling speculation was the timing of the announcement. Ed's departure coincided with Wheeler Dealers being relocated from the UK to America, where Velocity took greater control of the format. For many fans, this seemed like more than coincidence. The move meant tighter budgets, new expectations, and more pressure on the mechanics. Ed admitted that under the new system, he was expected to cut down the length of his workshop segments to save money. To him, that meant depriving viewers of the detailed explanations they valued most. Rather than agree to compromise, he chose to walk away. The controversy highlighted the delicate balance between creative vision and corporate demands. Ed represented authenticity, the meticulous mechanic who explained every step in detail. The network, on the other hand, wanted faster, cheaper television. In many ways, the clash was inevitable. But to the fans, the real tragedy was that the qualities that had made the show so popular were exactly the ones being sacrificed. For Mike Brewer, the fallout was particularly bitter. He remained with the program and welcomed new mechanic Ant Anstead, but he also faced the unenviable task of trying to convince fans that Wheeler Dealers could survive without Ed. Brewer later admitted that the months after the split were some of the most difficult of his career, as he battled online criticism while still trying to keep the show alive. Meanwhile, Ed moved on to new projects. He launched a YouTube channel, Ed China's Garage Revival, and continued to share his knowledge and love for mechanics directly with fans. Although the scale was smaller, the authenticity remained intact, proof that he had stayed true to his principles. The split between Ed China and Wheeler Dealers wasn't just about one man leaving a show. It became a symbol of the wider conflict between creativity and corporate control, between passion and profit. And for many fans, it marked the moment when Wheeler Dealers changed forever. After the dust settled from Ed China's departure, the focus turned to what came next. For fans, the central question was whether Wheeler Dealers could survive without him. The producers answered by bringing in Ant Anstead, another skilled mechanic known for his charisma and expertise. Ant quickly won over some viewers with his energy and fresh approach, but for many loyal fans, the absence of Ed left a gap that could never be filled. The show carried on, but it wasn't quite the same. For Mike Brewer, this period was both an opportunity and a challenge. On one hand, the show remained on air and continued to attract viewers, proving that the format still had life in it. On the other hand, Brewer was still dealing with the backlash from fans who refused to forgive what they believed was a betrayal of Ed. The shadow of the controversy lingered, and Brewer often found himself defending both his role and the show's future. He admitted in interviews that the constant negativity took a toll, but he was determined to carry on, insisting that Wheeler Dealers would always honor its core values. Meanwhile, Ed charted his own course. His YouTube series, Ed China's Garage Revival, offered him complete creative control, something he had fought so hard to preserve. The series didn't have the same production budget or global platform as Wheeler Dealers, but it allowed Ed to do what he loved most: walk viewers through the details of mechanical restoration. Without cutting corners, fans appreciated the raw honesty of his new work, and while the audience was smaller, it was fiercely loyal. Ed had proved that his vision for authentic, detailed mechanics still had a place, even outside mainstream television. Over time, the split between Ed and Wheeler Dealers came to symbolize two very different paths in the car entertainment world. On one side was the high-profile network-backed show, streamlined for speed and accessibility. On the other side was Ed's independent approach, slower, more detailed, and deeply authentic. Both had their audiences, but the contrast highlighted just how far apart Ed and the producers had drifted in their goals. For the automotive community, the lessons were clear. The drama wasn't just about personalities or ratings, it was about the clash between creative integrity and commercial pressures. Ed's decision to walk away rather than compromise reminded fans that authenticity often comes at a price. His stance earned him lasting respect, even from those who continued watching the show without him. Interestingly, as years passed, both men seemed to soften their public positions. Mike Brewer acknowledged the hurt caused by the backlash and insisted he bore no ill will toward Ed. Ed, for his part, continued to deny any personal feud and even expressed appreciation for the years he and Brewer had shared on screen. While the wounds left by the split never fully healed, there was at least recognition on both sides that the partnership had achieved something truly special. Ultimately, what emerged from this chapter in television history was a deeper understanding of what fans value most. They don't just want entertainment. They want honesty, craftsmanship, and passion. Ed's departure from Wheeler Dealers was painful, but it also reinforced why he had become such a beloved figure in the first place. He refused to compromise his principles, and in doing so, he preserved the trust of his audience. The story of Ed China and Wheeler Dealers is more than just a tale of a popular mechanic leaving a hit television show. It has become a symbol of how creativity, authenticity, and personal values often collide with the realities of modern television. Even years after his departure, fans continue to debate what really happened, and the reasons behind Ed's choice remain a defining moment in the history of car entertainment. Ed's departure revealed how much viewers valued the integrity of the work being shown on screen. For him, every nut and bolt mattered. He believed fans deserved to see the process in full, not a glossy version edited down to fit tighter budgets. When that integrity was threatened, he took a stand. His decision to leave proved costly in terms of exposure and financial opportunity, but it preserved the respect and trust he had built over the years. In many ways, it reinforced his image as not just a mechanic, but a teacher and storyteller who refused to let television compromise his craft. Mike Brewer's role in the story is equally important. For all the criticism he endured, Brewer never stopped carrying the torch for Wheeler Dealers. He fought to keep the show alive, brought in new talent, and ensured the format continued for audiences around the world. The backlash he faced was harsh and, at times, deeply unfair. Yet, through it all, he remained a figure of resilience, reminding fans that the show was bigger than any single personality. His determination helped the program survive, even if the original chemistry between him and Ed could never quite be replicated. Today, Wheeler Dealers remains on air, proving its lasting appeal. Ant Anstead and later Mark Priestley brought their own strengths to the workshop, and while the show has evolved, its foundation remains the same, restoring cars and telling stories that connect with enthusiasts everywhere. Still, for many fans, the original partnership between Brewer and China will always represent the golden era of the show. That chemistry, built over years of shared passion and mutual respect, is remembered as lightning in a bottle, a combination that may never be repeated. Ed, meanwhile, continues to pursue his own projects, staying true to his mission of education and authenticity. His work online, while smaller in scale, demonstrates the enduring loyalty of his audience. Fans still look to him not just for entertainment, but for guidance, knowledge, and inspiration. He represents a rare kind of celebrity, one who values trust more than headlines. In the end, the story of Ed China and Wheeler Dealers teaches us something universal. It reminds us that integrity matters, that passion can sometimes come into conflict with profit, and that tough choices often define legacies. Ed could have stayed, compromised, and collected the rewards of continued fame. Instead, he chose the harder path, one that preserved his principles but forced him to walk away from the platform he had helped build. For viewers, the memory of that decision lingers. It is why fans still ask, what really happened between Ed China and Wheeler Dealers? The answer is clear. It was the clash of values versus compromise, authenticity versus convenience. And in that clash, Ed made the choice that has defined him ever since.